The Day Kim Chose Herself. A story about leaving quietly, but powerfully. Start by noticing your breath. Is it shallow? Held? Drop it lower, into the space just beneath your ribs. That's where the truth lives. Tonight's story is about Kim. She didn't leave in rage. She left in clarity. Because after years of shrinking, dimming, and second-guessing herself, the most radical thing she ever did was believe in her own experience. For a long time, she wouldn't have called it toxic. He wasn't cruel, not exactly. He didn't scream. He didn't break things. But he broke her, slowly, with small digs, with sighs of disappointment that made her feel ridiculous, with jokes that were really just critiques in disguise. Every time she brought it up, he made her feel dramatic. God, you're so sensitive. Why do you always have to make things about you? Do you see how much I put up with? So she tried harder, softened her tone, apologized for things that didn't need apologies. It took her years to understand she wasn't too much. He was just too committed to misunderstanding her. The moment she knew she had to leave didn't come with fireworks. It came on an ordinary night. They were sitting on the couch. He was scrolling on his phone, and she was telling him about something small that had made her day. A compliment from her boss, a moment of laughter at work. And without even looking up, he muttered, "Don't let it get to your head. You always overestimate your impact." Something inside her paused. Not snapped, not shuddered, just paused. And in that silence, a sentence rose up. This is not love. Not the kind that nourishes, not the kind that grows, not the kind that she imagined for herself when she was younger, braver, and still intact. She didn't leave that night. That's not how it works. Leaving toxicity isn't just about packing a bag. It's about unpacking years of conditioning. She started small. She stopped explaining her feelings, stopped cushioning her truths, stopped pretending his affection wasn't conditional. She watched how he responded when she said no with a period instead of a paragraph. And the moment she honored her discomfort, the more she realized it wasn't her fault that the air in the relationship had become unbreathable. The hardest part wasn't leaving. It was facing what had kept her there. The part of her that believed being chosen meant being quiet. The part that mistook control for safety. The part that had learned to call pain patience. But here's what happens when a woman like Kim chooses herself. She doesn't explode. She doesn't destroy. She reclaims her voice, her space, her right to take up both. The day she left, she didn't cry. She didn't beg him to understand. She folded her clothes into a single duffel, took her grandmother's earrings from the top drawer, and left a note on the kitchen table. "I love you, but I won't abandon myself to stay." Then she walked out the front door into the sun. No plan, no apology. Just a quiet, defiant peace in her chest, and the knowledge that she was no longer available for her own eraser. In the weeks that followed, she learned what freedom actually felt like. Not wild, not loud, but still. like coming home to a house that had always belonged to you. She cried, of course, because grief doesn't care if you made the right choice. It just asks to be felt. But alongside the grief was something else. Strength. The kind that comes not from pushing through, but from walking away. From breaking the pattern instead of breaking herself to fit inside it. She went back to her life slowly, started going to the gym again, not to shrink herself, but to remember what power felt like in her own skin. She reconnected with friends that he'd called too emotional. She laughed without checking the room. She started therapy, not to fix herself, but to listen to the version of her that had been silenced for years. And she learned that healing isn't about getting over it. It's about seeing it clearly and refusing to carry the weight of someone else's unprocessed pain. So if you're listening right now and something in your gut is stirring, let this be a signal not to panic, not to run, but to get still, to notice the places inside you that had been whispering, "This isn't working," and to trust them, because sometimes the strongest thing you can do is leave quietly, not because you're weak, but because you're finally done living small. You don't have to burn it all down to begin again. You can simply walk away. And every step will feel shaky at first, but eventually you'll notice you're breathing deeper, laughing louder, and standing taller. Not because someone made space for you, but because you took it back. And that is how a woman like him becomes unstoppable. Hypnotic induction. Letting go to come home. Begin now by getting comfortable in your chair, in your bed, wherever you are. Let your body begin to settle. As if it's been holding something, it's finally ready to release. And take a slow, gentle breath in. Hold. And let go, longer than you took to let it in. Again, inhale through your nose. Hold. Exhale through your mouth, like the air is leaving with something you don't need anymore. With each breath, notice how the space around you begins to soften. The room doesn't need to change, but your presence in it does. Your jaw, your shoulders, your belly, they all begin to release the armor they wear for the world. Nothing to protect here, no one to perform for, just you. And in this quiet space, imagine a version of you who is no longer afraid to tell the truth, even to yourself. Let her come forward. She knows things. She remembers what it feels like to feel safe in your own skin. You may feel her as a warmth in your chest, a quiet voice in the back of your mind, or simply a steadiness where anxiety used to live. Now, bring your attention to the center of your chest. This is the part of you that's been whispering for months, maybe years. Not loud, not urgent, just steady. This isn't what I want. This isn't who I am. Let that part of you breathe now. Give it space. No judgment. No rush. Just recognition. You don't have to do anything yet. You don't have to fix or solve. Just feel what it's like to finally listen. And know this: you are not broken. You are becoming. And tonight, as you listened to Kim's story, know that her strength lives in you too. It always has. So let her journey be a mirror. Let her clarity be a reminder. Let her quiet exit be an invitation to come back to yourself, to your voice, to your worth, to your power. Now, let this story settle in you, and know you are the strongest person you know. So here are the key meanings to the story. Number 1, emotional abuse can be quiet, but still real. The story centers around subtle, covert toxicity, dismissiveness, emotional manipulation, and controlling behaviors masked as love. It emphasizes that harm doesn't have to be physical or explosive to be valid. Small, consistent invalidations erode self-worth over time. Kim's realization that this is not love highlights the importance of trusting your own emotional experience, even when it's been gaslit or ignored. Number 2, the power of quiet clarity. Kim doesn't leave in anger, she leaves in clarity, and that's a profound shift. The story reframes strength as something still, rooted and calm, not reactive or dramatic. Leaving a toxic relationship isn't portrayed as impulsive. It's a process of remembering and reclaiming. Number 3, you don't have to break down to break free. A major message is that you don't need things to get worse in order to hit rock bottom to leave. You can walk away simply because you stopped abandoning yourself. The story challenges the idea that trauma has to be extreme to be valid. It normalizes listening to early discomfort and leaving before it becomes unbearable. Number 4, self-return is the core of healing. Kim's journey isn't about revenge or proving anything. It's about returning to herself. Small actions like saying no without an excuse, laughing without shrinking, symbolizes deep inner healing. The moment she chooses herself is the moment she reclaims her future. Number 5, boundaries are an act of self-love. Kim's boundaries, her silence, her note, her departure, aren't cold. They're compassionate acts of survival. She's not walking away from love. She's walking away from something that wore love as a disguise. The story teaches that setting boundaries is not pushing people away, but protecting the parts of you that deserve safety. Number 6, strength doesn't always look like a struggle. Kim's power isn't found in confrontation, but in walking away without needing to be understood. Her strength lives in her stillness, her restraint, and her quiet knowing that she's done explaining her worth It redefines strength as self-trust, not force. And number 7, healing is not linear, but liberating. The story shows that grief and freedom can coexist. Kim misses parts of the relationship, but she never doubts the decision to leave, and that's honest. Healing is portrayed as messy, real, and beautiful, not a perfect path, but one she now walks with her head held higher. And that's where we'll leave Kim, not at the end of her story, but at the beginning of her return. Because leaving a toxic relationship isn't about escape. It's about remembering who you were before you started shrinking, and building a life where you never have to do it again. So, if something in you stirred while listening, if your breath caught, or your chest ached in recognition, know this: you are not alone. You are not overreacting, and you are not too much. You are someone who's starting to listen, and that's how every transformation begins. If this story resonated with you, go ahead and follow or subscribe, so you'll always have a place to return to, a space where your truth is safe, your voice is honored, and your next chapter is waiting. Until next time, breathe deep and remember, you don't have to break down to break free. You just have to choose yourself.